You already checked your phone while I was saying that, or you wanted to. That's not a dig, that's the design. The average person now taps their phone more than 200 times a day. If you're Gen Z, you're on it around 6 hours a day, and 3/4 of you already know it's too much. But here's the thing nobody says out loud. You are the most self-aware generation in history. You know the words: anxious, avoidant, burnt out, dysregulated. You can diagnose yourself before breakfast, and you're still the most anxious generation anyone has ever measured. So knowing what's wrong clearly isn't fixing it. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why, because it's not what you think. Your brain just grew up somewhere no human brain was built to survive. Let me see if this resonates with you. You open an app to buy one thing. 40 minutes later, you've read the reviews of the reviews and bought nothing. You send a text. Then you reread your own words 4 times, hunting for a tone you never meant. You see someone your age post a flat, a job, a soft launch relationship, and your stomach drops, even though you're happy for them, especially because you're happy for them, but you find yourself comparing. And late at night, when it goes quiet, you run a scan on yourself. Is this my anxiety? Is this my attachment style? Is this a trauma response? Naming it again and again, waiting for the right label to make it stop. If even one of those was you, stay with me, because none of it is a flaw in you. So here's the real question. If you grew up with a phone in your hand, why does knowing so much about yourself buy you so little peace? Not, why can't I cope? You cope. But the knowing hasn't quieted anything. Short version. You were raised inside a machine built to make you compare, make you choose, and make you examine yourself, non-stop. And the awareness everyone praised you for came with a cost nobody mentioned. The same tools that help you understand yourself can trap you inside yourself. You end up watching your own mind so closely you can't actually live in it. Let me show you how it got wired. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every generation gets shaped by whatever was new when they were small. Your grandparents got the television. You got a device that fit in your pocket and never switched off. There's a psychologist called Jonathan Haidt who studies this, and he has a name for what happened to your childhood. He calls it the Great Rewiring. Somewhere around 2010 to 2015, childhood moved off the playground and onto the screen. He points to 4 quiet costs: less sleep, less real-world connection, a pull towards addiction, and a fractured attention span, so the mind never fully settles on one thing. Sound familiar? It should. Researchers still argue about how much of this the phones actually caused, but the shift itself, where childhood happens now, isn't in dispute. That's the water you were raised in. Because that little device gave you something no generation had lived with before: infinite everything, infinite people to compare yourself to, infinite choices about who to be, and infinite information about your own psychology, fed to you 15 seconds at a time by strangers. And I want to be fair here. Your generation takes mental health seriously in a way that would have been unthinkable 40 years ago. That's courage. But the same openness that frees you can also swallow you. Here's how. Start with the scrolling. Comparing yourself to other people isn't new. But for most of history, you compared yourself to the 20 people in your village. A fair fight. You don't get a fair fight, you get everyone, every day, at their absolute best. You're not seeing lives, you're seeing highlight reels. The one good photo out of 40, and there's a name for what that does to you. The researchers at Oxford who put the science behind FOMO, the fear of missing out, found it spikes hardest exactly when your need to feel connected isn't being met. So the lonelier you feel, the more you scroll. And the more you scroll, the more you're reminded of everything you're apparently missing. That's the loop, an ancient instinct running through a machine built to keep you watching. The machine was designed to win, now the choosing. Older generations had fewer doors, fewer careers, fewer places to live, a narrower script. Limiting, yes, but also, quietly, a relief. You got handed every door at once and told the same line your whole life: you can be anything. A psychologist called Barry Schwartz named this the paradox of choice, and what he found is the opposite of what you'd expect. More options don't make you freer. Past a point, They make you anxious, frozen, and more likely to regret whatever you pick. So you hover. You keep the tabs open, the real ones and the ones in your head, because closing one means choosing, and choosing means being wrong forever. That's a reasonable response to more choice than any mind can hold. It just doesn't feel reasonable at 2 a.m. And here's the one I most want you to hear, because this is where your strength quietly becomes the trap. You have more language for your inner life than any generation ever. And when you first find the word that fits, something real happens. Relief. There's solid science behind that. A researcher at UCLA, Matthew Lieberman, found that just putting a feeling into words calms the brain's alarm center, the amygdala. Naming it genuinely helps. But watch the next step, because the line is easy to cross. There's a difference between "I'm feeling anxious right now" and "I am an anxious person." The first is a weather report. The second is a life sentence. And once a feeling becomes who you are, you stop waiting for it to pass. You build around it. You expect it. You look for it. And your brain, always helpful, keeps finding it. The word that started as an explanation becomes a ceiling. What I've noticed over the years is that the people with the most words for what's wrong are often the ones most stuck. The language was supposed to be a door. Somewhere along the way, it became a mirror. And hear me clearly. Some of these labels are real, and they matter enormously. If something real is going on for you, understanding it is the start of getting proper help. The difference I'm pointing at is holding a label versus being held by it. So stack those three together, and here's what's happening underneath. For a lot of you, anxiety doesn't feel like an event. It feels like a baseline, a background hum that's just always on, and you might assume that's normal because it's the only setting you've known. Gallup, with the Walton Family Foundation, ran one of the biggest recent studies on this. Gen Z reported the poorest mental health of any living generation, with nearly half feeling anxious often or always. You're living inside the most documented mental health shift we have. And when anxiety is your baseline, your brain treats the whole world as something to monitor. Every message reread, every choice double-checked, every feeling analysed. The overthinking isn't separate from the anxiety. It is the anxiety looking for a job to do. So if your mind never powers down, hear this. It isn't broken. It's a threat detector that switched on young, in a very loud world, and never got the message it's allowed to rest. You don't calm an over-monitored mind by monitoring it harder. That's the trap. You loosen the grip instead. 3 small moves. 1. Next time you feel the spin, comparing, freezing, reaching for a label, ask yourself one question. Am I living right now, or am I watching? So much of this is you standing outside your own life, narrating it. The second you notice you've climbed out, you can climb back in. 2. When you catch yourself comparing, say the true thing out loud. That's a highlight reel. I'm holding it against my behind the scenes. It breaks the spell, because part of you already knows it's true. You were never in a fair race. 3. And this is the one you'll want to skip. When a choice freezes you, set a 2-minute timer, pick the good enough option, and close the tabs. The real ones and the mental ones. Most choices are far more reversible than the anxiety swears they are, and you only learn that by choosing. Every time you choose and survive, you collect proof that one wrong move doesn't end everything. That's how a life gets built. One closed tab at a time. So here's the whole thing in one line. There's nothing wrong with your mind. There's something relentless about the world it grew up in. All of it, the social media, the comparing, the freezing, the endless self-analysis, is a healthy brain doing its best inside infinite everything. And patterns, unlike the environment, can change. You're allowed to put it down, even just for tonight. Next time, the people who succeed at everything and still secretly feel like frauds. If you have ever waited to be found out, that one was made for you. If this felt like something you needed to hear, the next one will too. Subscribe so it finds you. I'll see you there.